what's up everybody? Andrew Gay with Social Video Labs.
I'm Steve Ellerick. Welcome.
Cool. What we really wanted to talk about today was, there's the big myth about how many followers you need to have and how many people you need to, be in front of. And, though there's some truth to that, you need to have people see your stuff. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to have them, for instance, on Twitter as followers or fans on your Facebook page or what have you.
Really?
Well, this is my opinion anyways.
Okay.
On the one side of the fence is, basically at the end of the day, is what's better, quality or quantity? And I guess the best answer to that question would be, if you plan on making any money.
True.
Because,
however, maybe we should get back to defining the quality versus the quantity, as you were saying on Twitter. Because I know, like, for example, Ashton Kutcher, I think he leads Twitter with like 4 million followers.
But what does it do for him? He did more for Twitter than Twitter did for him.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
I agree.
So, in terms of those examples, I've got 30,000 followers. I had like 36,000. I'm actually falling a little bit because I'm not doing the follow back thing anymore. Okay? This is the other side of the experiment I'm working on. Because, and anybody with really any followers on Twitter will tell you that their business, not necessarily just income potential, but connections and all that stuff, come from less than 10% of those.
True.
Okay, so the rest is just filler.
Most people think that they need to go out there and get as many followers as possible and try to follow as many people as they can. But let's look at it like this. How many people can you truly connect with in a day's time?
You can't. You can't truly get to know and build solid relationships with 30,000 people.
It's impossible,
it takes some
really.
time. It takes some real time. You know what I mean?
And then, even then, I think it would be awfully hard to know a whole lot about each and every one of them, remember their names, remember, what they had to say, a week ago.
And they have little tools like the lists and stuff like that on Twitter that you can use to sort. But,
Sure.
I've used all that stuff, but it really still, it's been about a week now since I dumped, I literally unfollowed everybody.
Everyone?
All in one fell swoop. Gone. And then I went through and selectively followed people back that, I'm friends with, and people that I connect with, and people that, watch our show that we do, and, people that we're actually having interaction with.
Sure.
And then I can be selective about who I will add as a follower. Because, quite frankly, look, if you're going to follow somebody, that's why they call it follow. There should be some benefit to it for you.
Well, you should be able to connect.
Yeah, you're following somebody for a reason, not just to get a follow back. Because,
right.
Yeah, there's the social proof aspect, but what's more proof, a big bank account or a big Twitter following?
I like the bank account.
Me too. Not to mention, I like actually having productive relationships. It's about quality versus quantity.
And let's face it, a lot of the people that are using Twitter are just spamming the daylights out of everything.
And that's
They're
really
not
the
even
problem.
looking to connect. Yeah. They're just throwing out content after content. Most of it is automated. And they're doing quotes, this, that, something else.
Yep.
And they really aren't driving at anything other than just...
It's nothing but stuff. It's crap that's in the way.
Useless content.
Yeah, it's stuff that's in the way that takes you away from focusing on what you should be focusing on. Because even though someone I'm following will show up in my list, right, if I have them in a list, that doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to still see everything they do. You know what I mean? So, it does take some time to be able to go through there, even with tools, to be able to make good engagements with people and actually talk with people. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't take interest in my followers as well. You still can do that. But what it means is, and quite frankly, like I said, I've lost close to 6,000 people now over the last week. And I lost most of those in the first day, because typically people have their auto followers set to unfollow whoever doesn't follow me every 24 hours. So, no big deal there. I figured I would lose about 30%, which is typical from other people, friends of mine that I've seen that have done this.
Sure.
I got to tell you, Twitter's been a whole different experience since I've done this. And it was funny, we were talking about doing this particular post, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago, and that's kind of why I did the thing on Twitter, and trying to really restructure our focuses online, because there's only so many hours in a day, and we're spread pretty thin most of the time. every moment you can really catch to be productive in and to build quality relationships with people, which is the whole reason we're online. And we've been very good at that.
Well, and a lot of that is learning, right? And or sharing.
Yeah, I mean, it's all a big experiment. You got to try stuff. You got to try stuff. And so Steve found this article the other day on
great article.
What is it? Dogan Dog's video blogs.
Dogan Dog's video blogs. And what it was, we talked about doing a video along the lines of this. So I got to looking around and happened to come across this Dogan Dog's video blogs. And what he was talking about was back during the Revolutionary War, when the British were coming, and then Paul Revere was doing his
thing. Who everybody knows.
Everybody knows Paul Revere knew who.
Everybody knows Paul Revere. Right? Knows what he did. He's famous for it.
And everybody in the town knew who Paul Revere was. Well, what most of...
knew people who knew who Paul Revere was.
Right,
you know
exactly.
What I mean? They didn't all know him personally, but he was well respected within that small community.
That's right. And Paul Revere did the famous ride going from house to house through town, yelling, "The British are coming, the British are coming." But what most people don't know through history is that there was another gentleman,
William Dawes, who most people don't know of.
Most people don't know of, had gone before him and was yelling and screaming and knocking on doors. Yes.
Outside of town to go let everybody else know as well.
And nobody was doing anything. They weren't moving, they weren't getting ready, they weren't being prepared, nothing.
So why was that?
Well, because he was not known.
They didn't trust him.
That's right. There was no trust factor.
They did not trust him. So you see, just like online, you could have 10 million followers. If they don't trust you, if you're not connecting with them on some level, then what's the point? Well,
there must be trust.
Exactly. If there isn't any trust building, which is the same vice versa.
There's no believability, so why would anybody want to listen to what you have to say?
Exactly. And so, and I know a lot of people think that, and I used to do the refollow thing out of respect, you know what I mean? And so I really thought long and hard about this, as you know, because, I didn't want to upset good followers.
We've had lots of conversation about it, and that was a worry. But we knew that it was a gamble we had to take.
I've gotten a little bit of flack for it, but, honestly, have I gotten any flack from somebody that had as many, even close to as many or more followers than me? No. It's because people have convinced you, people like me have convinced you that having a lot of followers counts. And it only counts because people have been convinced it does count. It's social proof.
And if there are any of those people out there that are offended that you were connected with, it's very easy to repair that just by explaining why you're doing what you're doing.
Exactly. And
communication's the key.
I got some input from people that I've never talked to before, which was great, that I've now been able to connect with and start building some relationships with.
Oh, they may have been in there the whole time and they were lost in the shuffle.
Oh, of course they were. Completely. I never have seen a post from any of these people.
And that's great.
And I think, that's wonderful because now I get to see stuff. Because now the only way they can send stuff to me is by either direct message or an @reply.
That tells me that those people are connecting with people just like that.
Exactly.
Just like what you've done.
Exactly. And honestly, the whole deal is to connect more, build better relationships. And when Steve saw this article, he totally brought it into the office. He was like, "You got to check this out. This is exactly what we've been talking about." And I thought it was a great example in real life in terms of social networking, because that's what that was the only form of communication back then.
Absolutely.
There was no TV.
And I had no idea there was somebody else that had done a ride prior.
There was no TV. There was no internet. There was no telephone. There was no wire. There was nothing.
It was
guys riding on horses. You know what I mean? So, seriously, bringing us to the point. That's where video comes in, guys. Video is it's one of the few communication methods that we have to where you can actually build more trust by being there in person.
It's the connect all connectors.
It is. So, get your camera, get on the horse, and ride around and start talking to people. Make some connections first. You'll see it pay off for you big time, I'm sure. Anyways, until next time, I'm Andrew Gay.
And I'm Steve Ellerick.